Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, we are back again with another Alliance War video, and this time around I'm going to be using Warlock for a Havoc and a Bishop mini-boss. And other than that, we're going to be doing Absorbing Man. So the war is against Legion. They're definitely very capable alliance, Masters level alliance. I believe that they have beaten us in past as well. So it is not to be taken lightly by any means. And we had a relatively crazy strategy for this war, where basically we ended up taking down the boss in our battlegrounds with 2 people, I believe. And then everybody else started moving, so nobody has to deal with the global node. And therefore, all of my war fights will be with the global node switched up. I believe we sent Finn and another teammate of ours, clean up, kind of like sneak to the boss. And after that, the rest of us jumped in action. And I'm going to be starting on path 8 here, where the first champion that I have to deal with is Atuma. I could use Warlock or Absorbing Man for Atuma. I decided to go with Absorbing Man because I specifically looked up that Atuma's damage reflect is physical damage. So if I'm going to be taking damage back, Absorbing Man is going to be able to heavily mitigate it. It's kind of the same principle where Absorbing Man or Guardian hardly takes any energy damage fighting magic, for instance, from Limbo. So Absorbing Man seemed like a clear choice here. However, the Atuma didn't really want to play into me at all. He didn't go for any of the light intercept. So I chose to bait out a heavy attack, and this Atuma's AI is definitely quite annoying again. So he doesn't want to go for an intercept, and then I just decided to play kind of like safer, punish the heavies with my light. There I was a tiny bit too slow. He dexed out of that heavy punish there very quickly. And now I finally did get like a light intercept, but he's absolutely refusing to throw his level 1, which is the special that I ideally want to bait out of Atuma. And he just does not want to do it. So I decided to become a bit more aggressive, push him into that level 2, no big deal, and go for another level 1, and that will almost put the end to it. Another level 1 bait here. So finally he did choose to throw that level 1 in the end, but the AI definitely was quite annoying, and these were fights that I did relatively early in the morning, and he actually made me somewhat nervous, because whenever AI starts kind of like clogging up, that is typically when everything kind of tumbles down, but luckily not this time. So now I need to deal with this Cersei on power efficiency hazard shift, and obviously Absorbing Man is going to be perfect for it, because I do have I-Bomb with me for the poison immunity synergy, and I'm going to activate my magma form for incinerate immunity, so I'm effectively immune to both poison and incinerate, and I can just play this freely. And also because of it, I do not need to stress too much about pausing my forms, because I should be triggering plenty of immunities and pauses and all that just by playing normally. Now the annoying part here is obviously the fact that glancing is going to come into play, and the power efficiency, and I hate Cersei's special attacks. They catch me so often, and now I need to bait them out non-stop basically. But I got to my level 2, fine. My final level 2 does trigger the glancing, and here we are perfectly fine. I'm going to hit her a handful of times. You can see that the first region failed there because I actually did have max Petrify or Pacify Mastery active from my Battlegrounds Mastery setup. So sometimes it's a bit inconsistent, but here I go for another level 2 whilst the glancing was active. However, at the same time, I did trigger a whole bunch of region buffs. And by the time the glancing falls off, I'm just going to throw level 3 and everything's fine. So yeah, the glancing obviously messes with you, but the fact that she's a cosmic champion, she triggers all of those regions, and then you can just, make your power skyrocket. It helps tremendously for Mystic champions who are running Mystic Dispersion. Now, next up, we are moving on to section 2, and I'm going to be doing path 4. And this next fight, I'm actually going to screw up, kind of. Point is, because I'm immune to poison and armor break, I will just have the heal block debuff whenever Special Burst Lockdown activates. That means that if I play this correctly, steady build-up unblockable will never come into play, because whenever a bomb is going to activate his special attacks, well, nothing really is going to happen aside from the aside from the heal block, which is one debuff, right? And I choose Magma Form because in Abomination gains physical resistance the more poisons he has. So I figured Magma Form is, more useful here. Obviously, here is where I made a mistake. Here is where I made a mistake. I am perfectly fine, and if A-Bomb throws his special attacks, I get the Petrify, I get the heal block, that's 2 debuffs, not 3, and I am safe. But I hit his block once, and he immediately activated level 1, which was that 2-second weakness, which temporarily put 3 debuffs on me, and now I'm gonna have to play the rest of the fight with this Immortal Abomination unblockable. Now, luckily, Immortal Abomination is not necessarily the hardest champion to go up against, and even though I made a silly mistake, and it is unfortunate, only thing that I really need to do is keep pushing that I-bomb to level 1s, bait out those level 1s, and get to my level 2 and finish up these fights. So I did make a silly mistake, but we didn't pay for it. I just made the fight harder for myself, but without any real consequence. So that worked out fine. Next up, I actually changed my masteries. That's why the video is kind of splitting up. I activated Liquid Courage Double Edge because I'm going to be using Warlock for the remaining 2 fights that I have. And we're going to be putting on the tech boost as well. Because as I mentioned, I believe the score at this point in the war was effectively tie. So, need to be very, very careful. This is also where I, for the first time in this war, will activate a 3-minute boost, which is going to be an indestructible 3 boost, just in case Havoc somehow gets to level 3. But I also obviously want that boost for the Bishop mini boss later on. And now against Havoc using Warlock, well, it's relatively straightforward. Just don't heavy. If you do not heavy, especially with this tactic now, where every hit power drains, we are perfectly fine and safe. Just do not heavy. And here I activate level 2. We can see that I basically get 2 bars of power back. That means I immediately go for another level 2. And this is one poor baby Havoc getting absolutely nuked by Warlock in 26 seconds in 2 level 2s. So that was an absolute torpedo run there of that Havoc. 2 level 2s, and yeah, Warlock's crazy good when you give him boost, recoil, tech boost, and you get to spam your level 2s because those armor breaks are chunky and they matter a lot. And next up, a fight that's slightly more scary is this Bishop. So it's Hazard Shift, Incinerate and Poison, and Stun Immunity. So I'm going to be using Warlock for this, and that means that I cannot hit him whilst the Incinerate phase is active. I need to get in all of my damage in the Poison phase. It does not mean that I cannot build my Infection and my Infection charges, because even though he's stun immune, whenever I parry, that still gives me 4 charges. I can hit his block, that also gives him the charges. And here at this point, when the Poison phase starts, I can be as aggressive as I want to, basically. And I just want to push him to 2 bars of power, so we do not have to deal with that level 1 aura. So here I successfully get him to 2 bars of power. He doesn't quite want to throw that level 2, but it's fine. And I'm gonna kind of safely block the first part of it, then dex out of it. And now, just like clockwork, the poison phase is back. I have gotten to 2 bars of power. I drop my level 2. That puts me at another 2 bars of power. And I connect my intercept and I drop in another level 2, and this fight is also over in under a minute. So Warlock is an absolute beefcake of a monster. Such a nice little honky guy. Just destroyed that Havoc like nobody's business. I love using Warlock. Warlock's still arguably my favorite tech champion. One of, for sure. Love that guy. And as for results of the war, well, it's technically still not over. We have 2 more fights left to do in our team in BG1. However, those are regular path fights, and it shouldn't pose too much of a problem because we are ahead on time and by 2 deaths, so it's all but set that we do have this war in the bag. So very well played to Legion. And but with the score of 3 deaths, they would have beaten us in most wars this season because we have not died less than 3, I think, so far until this war. 3 was also our best performance that we did twice, I believe. But this is by far the best war New Nation has had this season. And we cut down from 3, 1 death total, which is, much, much closer to where we would like to be as an alliance. Again, we have died 3 deaths twice, and everything else was more than 3, which is horrible. We had 6 and 9 and stuff like that. So, finally getting down to 1, much, 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 much better. And as I said, if this was, a couple wars ago, then Legion would have beaten us with having died only 3 times. But not today. And yeah, so here we are. This will put us at 4-2 in the season. Still, obviously, not a great score. Having 2 lost wars in the first half of the season is not great, but it's definitely looking much, much better than it looked after the 4th war when we were 2-2. So basically, we're 50-50 win-loss rate. So we have cleaned up significantly in last couple of wars, and it does, still seem unlikely to fight for top 3, but overall it feels just much better. How is your war seasons going, guys? And I definitely would love to hear about that. And I will catch you guys. Bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about